Hi, everybody. It's Maria here. I'm starting just a few minutes early today with our Home Together conversations. We're going to welcome, hi, Coolway Sports. Hi, Hoover Star, I think, and hi, everybody who's joining in. I wanted to begin a little bit early just to talk a little bit about Dan Siegel, who's going to be joining us. Dan is a clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA. He also started the MindSight Institute at UCLA. He's also the author of, I don't know how many books, like maybe 20 or something like that. An incredible therapist, great books on parenting, great books on finding ways to improve your own life, your own mind, understand your mind, your brain, all of that. He's been a great source of inspiration and education for me, and he's a much sought after speaker. And so I thought, when I thought about who I could talk to that would bring all of you some calm, some insight that would really be helpful to you as we go into the weekend, I thought Dan. He popped right into my head, and he's usually traveling and speaking all over the world, but like so many of us, he's stuck at home. So I'm really thrilled that he said that he could join us a little bit later on. I'm in Los Angeles. We are on lockdown here in California. The governor of our state, Gavin Newsom, went on television last night, as did the mayor of our city, Mayor Garcetti, asking all of us to stay at home, stay in shelter, stay in place, and because that's the best way we can keep ourselves safe, and we can keep our neighbors safe. And if we're all in this together, that's something we have all learned, I think. Not only are we home together, those of us who are lucky enough to be home together, but we're in this larger thing together. And so my actions impact your actions impact my actions. And so staying home is the order of the day. Staying inside is the order of the day. And so we're trying to adhere to the order of the day. I think growing up, I was never a big rule follower, and I didn't like when I was told to sit still or stay inside, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it just like I'm sure all of you are also doing it. So bear with me as I try to find Dan. Let me see if Dan is anywhere here. I don't see Dan yet, so Dan's going to join us in a minute. And I want to know how you all are doing. How are you getting through this? Are you getting through it together? Are you struggling with getting through it? I know so many people are struggling with their jobs, their companies. I have so many friends who are laying people off, who are struggling themselves. They don't know how they're going to pay their rent. They don't know how they're going to pay the people who work for them. So these are sober times, and the purpose of these conversations really is to try to bring uplifting conversations, inspiring conversations with the healers, the helpers, and the cultivators of hope. And I'm so glad so many of you joined these conversations because they give me something to look forward to as well. I get up, put on some makeup, brush my hair, pull it back, and look forward to connecting with all of you. I've always loved connecting, always loved being with other people. And so this is as good a way to be with other people as possible. So let me see if I can find Dan. I still don't see Dan. So Dan is going to have to come sometime. Where is Dan? Dan, okay. And I'm also really open to hearing from all of you as to who you would like to hear from. A couple people suggested to me today, Dr. Weil, Andrew Weil. I'm going to reach out to him. I don't know him, but I'm going to reach out to him and see if he'll join us here on Home Together. Next week, I'm also going to talk to my daughter, Catherine, about her new book. And I'm going to, let me find you, Dan. I don't know where you are. Goodness gracious. Anyway, well, he'll be here, I suppose, any minute. And in the meantime, where is Dan? Goodness. Okay. So, but I guess there's a lot of people here, and I'll find, oh, there's a whole group called the Kennedys. Wow, hi. I'm sure we're related in some capacity. And hi, Calabrese. Thank you so much for joining. Danelle Anderson, thank you for joining. Brittany, thank you for joining. I'm glad so many of you yesterday enjoyed the conversation with Tom, that many of you I've heard from who are entrepreneurs found it helpful. I also found it quite inspiring, not quite, very inspiring. And I was really glad to connect with him. My son, Patrick, I'm going to check this little happy face down here again. Let's see. Oh, there's Dan Siegel. Add. It says waiting for DJ Siegel. That's Dan Siegel, Dr. Dan Siegel. Hi, Shay. There's Dan Siegel.
Hey, hi, Maria.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Well, before you got on here, I gave your whole bio, so you don't have to, clutter healing. I just heard that my son is a gem. I told you, other people say, I told you who would appear. Now you're upside down. So
oh, yeah, good. Want to do it?
Right,
Don't want to do it the right way here. Okay, there we go.
So, Dan, I thank you, first of all, for coming, for joining this series.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And I was saying to our community here that one of the people that I always have turned to for many years now when I need to be calmed down, when I'm dealing with anxiety, when I'm dealing with a sense of hopelessness is you. And you have these great S words. And I thought you could talk a little bit about that today, because so many people, I saw Illinois, the governor just came out and asked everybody in Illinois to also go on lockdown, like here we are in California. So what are the 4 S's and how people might be able to do some soothing of their own at this time?
Oh, that's great, Maria. Well, first of all, thank you for really reaching out to the community, and thank you for involving me. There are 4 S's that are the basics of basically our relationships with each other. And when we're in quarantine, our what's called social distancing by the epidemiologists, which I wish they would just call physical distancing, doesn't mean we get socially disconnected. So that word can sometimes be confusing. So the 4 S's are these. The first S is safety.
Right.
The second S is being seen.
Okay.
The third S is being soothed. And the 4th S is being secure.
Okay, so let's just repeat those. So, because those 4 S's are really important to people, no matter where you are right now. You want to feel safe. You want to feel secure.
Well, safe and then seen, so you're not alone
right.
in the world.
So you want to feel seen. Mm-hmm. And I just want to safety. I want to Billy be beautiful. Some of these names I can't pronounce, but I see you here and I see the thumbs up coming up. I want to see them.
Yeah.
And people need to know how to soothe themselves. That's something that people really, I know I wasn't taught as a child. And so many of us, and I put myself in this category, go to soothe themselves with food. Others soothe themselves with work, and the work is taken away. So how do you soothe yourself at a time like this, Dan?
Exactly. Well, these are great questions, and overall, that's how you get security. So let's begin with soothed. The first thing to say is that we're all facing a huge amount of uncertainty. Mm-hmm. And what we are creatures that need connection. Yeah. And we need to have certainty. We want to know how to predict things. And when things are uncertain, they feel unsafe. Right. And so the whole brain's approach to keeping us safe starts to freak out when and feel really distressed. We can get sad, we can get angry, we can get panicky. And at a time when actually we're supposed to be vigilant on washing our hands and keeping ourselves clean and avoiding contagion and not infecting ourselves or others, this is a time when, in fact, we want to have vigilance but not panic. Okay. And the problem with the soothing issue that I'm glad you're starting with, Maria, is that if we can't find a way to go from panic to just presence, you know, to just having an awareness that says, yeah, I'm feeling anxious.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of uncertainty. There's even danger. And I'm going to be aware of those things. That's what presence is just having this open awareness. And when I have this presence, I say, I'm aware that I'm feeling scared.
Okay.
Now, that allows you to be maybe a little anxious, which is fine. In fact, it's healthy. And you can have a kind of stress, which means I know there's something meaningful happening, rather than freaking out, which needs soothing, and getting panicky, which says, oh my God, impending disaster. And then you can no longer think straight. So the good thing about starting on the S's with soothing is that if you yourself, let's say, as a parent taking care of kids at home, because so many kids are out of school,
Right.
or as a friend, or, you know, I've got a 90-year-old mom who's at home. She may even be listening to us, you know, and,
Hi.
you know, and she's, you know, she's really cool because we've been teaching her, Caroline and I've been teaching her mindfulness techniques to, you know, as she says, be amused rather than annoyed. And so instead of being in panic, she can think pretty clearly about things.
Can
Now,
I just jump in there a second? I think
yeah,
that so many people have elderly parents, right? And so you've been teaching your mother mindfulness techniques. So some of the people on here might also have older parents that they can't visit. How do you teach somebody? Do you have that on your website, how to teach mindfulness techniques?
yeah. Well, Maria, you know, this week you made Caroline Welch's book, The Gift of Presence, your book of the week.
Yes.
And Caroline was a major teacher of my 90-year-old mom.
Okay.
The lessons in that book, in fact, she's one of the people that Caroline interviewed. She interviewed over 100 women. And in The Gift of Presence, you have these steps to being more present. And it, you know, it was amazing for that book to come out this week of all weeks when we're all going into, you know, confinement, you know, with the stay-at-home rules now here in California, but throughout the country, as you're pointing out.
Mm-hmm.
So the gift of presence has all these steps of doing that. So what's one of the basic steps? One of the basic steps is to realize that if you can be aware of what's happening, that's the presence part, but an accepting of it. So like right now, you know, I woke up this morning and, you know, Caroline was busy doing some stuff, but I woke up and I said, I'm really worried about our community. I'm worried about our country. I'm worried about our world. And I let the worries be there. So instead of trying to get rid of them,
Mm-hmm.
instead of trying to wish them away, or instead of just following them down, you know, the rabbit hole where I get lost in all the details, I did a basic meditation called the Wheel of Awareness that you know about,
Mm-hmm.
where the hub is this spacious, accepting place of presence. The hub is a metaphor, and the rim would be where my worries were, so I could soothe myself with acceptance.
So
You know,
let's just pause a second. So, you know, so people are at home right now. They might have young kids. They might have older parents. I think really just to kind of synthesize where we are with Dan, you have tools that you have right at your disposal, whether you've been to therapy, whether you've taken mindfulness, these 4 S's, you have them at your hand really right now. They're tools for you. If you have an older parent or some kids who are struggling, you can talk about this wheel of awareness that Dan talks about and placing yourself at the center of the hub. That's a good visualization exercise to do with kids or parents who might be panicking, or yourself right away, and thinking of yourself as a hub of calm, as a hub
exactly,
of calm, as opposed to a hub of frantic energy, but as a hub of calm, right?
exactly.
And being present with yourself, and then also understanding, I think, as your wife was saying with her book, that, you know, kind of the energy that you are goes out. So if you're anxious, if you're stressed, it goes out to the other people that you're at home with, that
Exactly.
you're home with.
Oh, right. Yeah. So just to stick with the metaphor, and for free, you can come to our website and do the wheel of awareness practice. As you can see the drawing, you can do the practice itself. But
so where do they go? What website do they go to?
It's Dr. Dan Siegel, DrDanSiegel. Go to resources, you'll see the wheel. It's for free. Just go there, and for free you can do it. And here's the thing about this metaphor that we're talking about. Instead of me saying, I'm not going to worry, or the pandemic's not happening, or we haven't gone on lockdown, instead, in the hub of my mind, I find peace and clarity, just like you wrote about in, I think, 2 Sunday papers ago, Maria, so beautifully. You said, my God, I woke up, and even with everything going on, I was happy and I was peaceful. So this is where, there's calm and clarity.
That feels like a year ago.
Doesn't it? But
yeah.
You remember? So here's the beautiful thing about what you wrote, is that you, not just you, but me, each of us has the opportunity here with this challenge of the pandemic to develop the presence that comes from that hub of the wheel, where you can say on the rim, yes, I know the facts of the novel coronavirus. I know the facts of COVID-19. I was just, actually, before I got on with you, I was on with some colleagues, and one of them is a physician who has COVID-19, and he's not so happy. We're working on a book together, but it's he knows what he's facing as possibilities. He's in his 70s, and so from the hub, what you do is you say, I accept these worries on the rim. I accept these facts that I know about, but at the same time, I have clarity and calm amidst the chaos and confusion.
Okay, so some people just are asking, they love this idea, but they say they have trouble with the acceptance.
Yeah.
They have trouble acceptance, whatever it is, accepting the situation. I feel you, I get it. And let's just say they're an entrepreneur is out there. They're having to let go of people. They can't meet their rent. They have no revenue coming in. It's hard to accept, or it's hard to get calm when your entire livelihood just went down the drain.
I absolutely. So let's take that as one of the soothing issues, and even build on the other S, being seen. So the first thing about soothing and being seen, it means this, is that, let's say you run a restaurant.
Yeah, my husband laid people off today. A woman just wrote in here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so there you go. So this is the reality we're in now. So the acceptance is to not go into denying the reality. Like a friend of mine just wrote about someone who's had a very severe mental negative reaction to what's going on with the pandemic and the isolation. We'll get into that in a moment. But for the acceptance piece, it doesn't mean you become passive. Instead, what it means is you say, let me see what is and be present with actually what is. That's the starting place for any clarity of mind and any soothing of the distress. Because ultimately, I mean, here's the complicated thing. No one is choosing to fire people from a restaurant. No one is choosing that the world and life we knew, let's say 2 months ago, or in some ways 2 weeks ago, has now been put on hold. And it looks like this is not a sprint for like a 2-week hold. It looks like it'll be many, many, many months. So this is a marathon we're in. And what we need to do then is take care of each other. And the mind that we have in terms of this person with the restaurant, it doesn't do you any good to just be furious and rageful and feeling like you failed and full of anger and shame and at yourself, really being so frustrated with the world. What good does that do? So soothing comes from being seen. And, you can say it's a feeling felt experience where you go, wow, I'm a restaurant owner. I've just had to let my wonderful, wonderful staff go. I had no other choice. And I will do what I can to support them. And I'm hoping the restaurant can come back open soon. And to be with what is, because, here's the thing about the mind. The mind is something you can strengthen. even as you're going through a pandemic.
Okay, how? So a lot of people are like, okay, how? Give me one way that we can all strengthen. There's a lot of videos online right now of like how to stay in shape, how to do yoga, how to do your sit-ups. How do you strengthen the mind right now? What can we all do?
Okay, I mean, to put it simply, and I don't want to like keep on repeating the same thing, but the wheel for me is keeping me sane in these insane times. I mean, I do the wheel every morning, and I think if I didn't do it, I'd be absolutely falling apart. Now, maybe my wife would say I'm falling apart anyway, but but I do the wheel every morning. You know me in this word integration. The idea is that you strengthen your mind by making a distinction between your awareness and the thing you're aware of. So that if you just get lost in the fear or lost in the facts and don't have a spaciousness of awareness that will stay with you till your dying day, that awareness is the constant that, for some people, Maria, they might call it your soul. Mm-hmm. For other people, they might call it your spirit. For other people, they might just call it consciousness. But if you really take a step back from this moment, what you have from the moment you kind of wake up as a person to the day you die is you have your awareness.
Okay, let me just pause a second, Dan, because a lot more people have joined in, and there are a lot of questions are, what is the wheel? What is the wheel? So the wheel, just to kind of capsulate what we've been talking about something Dan Siegel refers to as the wheel of awareness, and putting yourself as the hub in the wheel of awareness. And you can go on for free to Dr. Dan Siegel's website, where he has an image of the wheel of awareness and shows you how, for free, how to put yourself at the center of that, and how to practice mindfulness and how to practice calm with yourself at the center of the wheel of awareness. And then recognizing that on the outside of the wheel, kind of maybe outside your house is a lot of anxiety, but you being the center of the wheel can be calm, can see yourself, can be present with yourself. So I just wonder, because a lot of people are going, what's the wheel? What's the wheel? So we talked about that at the beginning, but people join these conversations at different times. So once again, it's the wheel of awareness, Dan Siegel, Dr. Dan Siegel's website. And so that's what that is. So that was capsulating that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so now thank you for explaining. So I just want to refer people over to Dan's work, his website, and some of the work that is there for free. And he mentioned earlier also that his wife, Carolyn Welch, has written a brand new book that came out last week called The Book of Presence, or the gift of presence. The gift of presence. And that kind of walks you through also how to kind of be mindful, how to be present, and gives you some tools. You can download it. That's not for free because she just wrote the book, but you can get it on Amazon. We excerpted it in the Sunday paper this past Sunday. So you could see on the Sunday paper site a small excerpt of that. Yeah. That's came from a lot of interviews and a lot of work over the last many years that they're both have done and are doing. And I think it's really important at this time, right, Dan, that we all try to the best of our abilities. Somebody's saying, thank you, Dr. Dan Siegel. The best of our abilities to kind of be, right, the hub, to be calm, to be present, to try to believe that if we find ourselves having, to let people go, to not be able to make rent, to actually believe that people will understand in some way. As you said, I liked what you were saying, that nobody chooses to go and, fire people who work in the restaurant when they have spent their whole life building the restaurant. I have a friend who's spent his whole life building his hair salon, and had to close it all down, his whole life's work, and had to let everybody go. Nothing breaks his heart more, and he's struggling, right? So everybody is struggling at different levels, right? Struggling to put food on the table, struggling to pay rent, struggling to keep their businesses open, struggling to keep giving jobs to people.
Yeah.
I like here, Cool Way
Yeah.
Sports is saying help others is the best medicine. Another woman saying, I'm a hairstylist too. I can't work. There's so many people, whether, you know, who have these small, you know, it's a hairstylist, it's a masseuse, it's someone who does nails, it's someone who has a little neighborhood restaurant. It's all of these kind of great small entrepreneurs that are feeding their families, that are achieving their dreams, that, I don't know, somebody just said, what does Cool Ways do? You have to talk to Cool Ways. I don't know what she does. She's, you have to go check her out. But,
So, and Maria, you know what, if I can build on what you're saying, you know, I've done the wheel now with over 50,000 people in person.
wow.
And there's a whole, you know, book I wrote called Aware About, summarizing the following things. In doing it with that many people, when they get into the hub, and for those of you who haven't done the practice, it's just a very simple science-based practice of focusing your attention on the different things you can be aware of, like what you hear and smell and taste and touch, and what you feel in your body and your thoughts and feelings and stuff like that. And then you move a singular spoke around, and then when you bend it into the hub itself, here's what the amazing thing is, and I could go on and on about this, but I'll just summarize it in one sentence. 3 things come out of that hub. One, of course, is pure awareness, which is what it represents, presence.
Yeah.
The other 2 were really, I was shocked by them as a scientist, that it came up over and over again. Here's what the 2 other ones besides awareness are in the hub of that wheel: interconnection and love.
Okay.
So every morning when I do the wheel, and other people who do the wheel, we have many people doing it who write into us. When I do the wheel, I get this incredible sense of love, interconnection, and presence every morning when I do the practice, so that whatever comes up in the news or whatever struggles we're going through as a community,
Right.
I live my day through that hub of the wheel, where the love is there, the interconnection is there, the presence is there. And what we're talking about in this conversation is, how can we deal with quarantine? How can we deal with being locked down in stay-at-home approaches? And so what we're saying is this: the mind can be strengthened with it's called 3-pillar mind practice. You're focusing attention, you're opening awareness, and you're building kindness. And as you do those 3 things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, please.
No, I'm just saying I wanted to reiterate those 3 things. Just repeat them, because you're saying you're strengthening the mind by
and what this is what all the science shows. The wheel, it turns out, fortunately, has each of the 3 aspects, or called pillars, of strengthening the mind, that has been shown to do a number of things. So let me name the 3 things, and I'm going to tell you what they do, because I hope it'll inspire you to do these practices. 1 is you strengthen attention.
Okay.
Because our minds are always wandering here and there and there, and you can actually strengthen attention. That's the first pillar.
1.
Second pillar, open up awareness, so that instead of only focusing on one thing at a time, which is really good to know how to do, now you're learning how to sit in that hub and just be aware of anything from the rim. So that's called open awareness.
Okay.
2.
3
is you can actually build kindness into your intention. Some people call it compassion. Some people might call it love. You can actually show in these research studies that you can build that. So,
wow, that should be maybe number 1. How
okay, make it number 1.
Well, I think one of the goals that I'm always trying to talk about is, how do we build a more caring, compassionate, conscious world, right? And somebody just called me, a moment where we all have to first be kind to ourselves, right? Be kind to those of us who are sheltered at home. My son is here living with me. I think, it's been a week. I'm sure he's probably didn't have in mind that he was going to end up living at home with his mom, for a month or whatever. So how do we exhibit kindness towards those in our houses, towards those out in our social communities, and really out in our world? Because there are many people still working, still on the front lines, holding down the fort in so many ways.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And so building that kindness begins with an inner kindness. So like for that restaurant owner, to be kind to yourself, you've done the best you could, and you want to be kind to people who aren't in the body you were born into, so that's inter-compassion, because who we are as a self is more than just these bodies. We are connected to each other, that's the love part of it. And so that's the focused attention, the kindness building, and the open awareness is this beautiful opportunity you have with all of the challenge. And I want to just remind everybody that stress is a funny word. And the research is really very clear that your relationship to that word stress will actually directly influence how the stress affects you. So that if you say, well, let's just define stress for a moment. Stress can be defined as how the body responds when something significant is at stake.
Okay, that's pretty much all of us.
Yeah. So right now you've got a virus that's hidden. So it's like a hidden menace. You can't see it. So it's invisible to the eye. But we know it can do devastating things to many people. So you've got this immediate significance to what's going on, right? So that's the first thing. Now, stress is your body, for example, tightening your muscles, breathing fast, heart rate going quickly.
Or not breathing at all.
Or not breathing at all, right?
Right.
Oh, like that. So here's the amazing thing. And this, Kelly McGonigal talks about this beautifully in the book, The Upside of Stress, but it comes from research directly on people who are experiencing something significant at stake, right? So when something meaningful is happening, our bodies respond with a stress response. If you interpret your heart pounding, your breathing fast, or tightening your breath, or your muscles being tight, as, oh, this is terrible, this is going to be bad for me, it will be bad for you. But if instead of treating it like a threat, you treat it like a challenge, and then go, oh, I see. There's a pandemic going around the whole planet. I didn't cause this. This is something that's real. This is something significant. Many people get sick. Some may die, and it's affecting our whole community. In fact, the whole system just fell apart because everyone has to stop going to school, stop going to work, and it's huge. So of course, is that stressful? Yes. Is it meaningful? Yes. Now, anyone listening to us right now, Maria, they can go, what do I do with my stress? Here's what you do. You literally say to yourself in your own mind, this physiological reaction to something meaningful is a good reaction because I am realistically understanding that something meaningful is happening. And you can say a meaningful life is a stressful life. Now, here's where it gets complicated. This stressful event is so full of uncertainty that it's pushing a lot of us toward panic, towards terror, freaking out. In general, you can freak out, but especially if you've had difficult things in your own childhood. Lots of reasons for issues of temperament. Some of us may be more prone to panic than others, people with panic reactions, for example. So what you then do, and this is going to sound strange, but is you need to befriend uncertainty.
Okay, befriend. I just started smiling because someone said, can we please see a smile, Maria? Come on, don't be serious. So I wanted to smile even though you're saying really serious things. So befriend stress. So
befriend stress and befriend uncertainty.
Befriend stress, befriend uncertainty, become kind of your own soothing mechanism, put yourself in the center of the wheel. Know you have the tools to get through this. Be kind to yourself, which will help you be kinder to others.
Right.
And know that there's also a lot of free resources out there. Dan's resources are out there. I think that's been one of the great things about these conversations is there's so many great thought leaders who are making their resources available to all of us for free because
Absolutely.
we're
Well,
all home together.
right. And here's another one. If you go to CarolineWelch.com,
That's
our
Dan's
CEO,
wife.
and she wrote The Gift of Presence. She's going to have presence groups so that when people are feeling isolated, you can actually form even virtual groups, because we have to have physical distancing in these times of, the pandemic. You can do these presence groups. You can sign up through Caroline's, website for free. These are all free resources. And amazingly, I just want to make sure we list this to inspire people. The research is really clear when you look at the science of presence, that if you do these practices and use this challenge of the pandemic as an opportunity to develop presence. And what do you get from that? Number one, you're actually going to change the structure of your brain in a positive way to make it what's called more integrated, which means it's more resilient. Fantastic news. You now have some time to do that, and motivation for sure. Let me list 5 bodily change.
Somebody just said, look at, this is great, Dan, but I'm not working and I can't pay my bills.
No, I know. But what you do with your mind as you can't pay your bills will make the difference between whether this makes you ill or just makes you activated.
Got it.
That's what we're doing. This doesn't generate money off a money tree, but it's better to stay healthy. And let me show you how it helps you stay healthy, because everyone says, well, where's all the money I'm going to spend on keeping myself healthy? Well, watch. These are 5 research proven outcomes that if you do this 3-pillar mind training stuff, focusing attention, opening awareness, building kindness, the wheel has all 3 in one practice for free. Okay. If I told you the following 5 things were an outcome of a vitamin, you would probably take that vitamin every day. Yeah. But it's actually not something you have to put in your mouth. It's just something you do with your mind. These 3-pillar trainings, that focus, attention, open awareness, kind intention, each of them are built into the wheel. So you get one practice, all 3. So here are the 5 things. This is mind blowing. You ready? Okay. Number 1, when we get stressed out, you secrete a hormone called cortisol. Everyone knows cortisol is a stress hormone. And if it's elevated for too long, it's not so good. These practices reduce cortisol levels. So it literally reduces stress during chronic stress times. Very good. Number 2, it improves your immune system. That's important, right? So literally, studies have shown if you give the flu vaccine, people who do these mindfulness practices, these meditations, these 3-pillar practices, have a more robust immune reaction. So literally, if you want to say, how do I boost my immune system in the area where I might get coronavirus? Do these practices. And they're for free. Okay. That's number 2. So you're boosting your immune system. Number 3, your heart and your head will communicate in a much better way to improve cardiovascular health. You'll reduce cholesterol, reduce blood pressure, and make there be something called, it doesn't matter, heart rate variability coherence, but it's basically your heart is healthier. Okay. That's number 3. Number 4, you're going to actually reduce inflammation in your body, because you're going to actually, and it's an amazing thing.
I love this. This is just somebody saying here, thank you, I'm ready to release the stress now. Yay. So I think that is also, there was one more. Did we get the last one or we didn't?
No, we are. So you're reducing inflammation, and there's cool ways it does it. The last one, and this is a mind blower, is the enzyme telomerase. Is an enzyme that basically repairs the ends of your chromosomes and slows the aging process.
Woo!
Yeah. So with all the stress, which we age faster.
Yes, I think that's a really important thing to remember, that, with all the stress makes you age faster. And I think nobody wants stress. And some people have said to me, when I say I'm under stress, they're like, well, just stop it. I'm like, if it were that easy, I would have stopped it. But I think what's really important is that Dan has developed these techniques. He's offering these tools to all of us for free. They're on his website, Dr. Dan Siegel, SIEGEL.com.
Yep.
The Wheel of Awareness is on Dr. Dan Siegel's website, and it kind of walks you through. Just trying to synthesize this because, and remember, you are at the hub of the Wheel of Awareness. Dan has written countless books. When I was a young mother, one of my favorite books was a book he wrote called Parenting from the Inside Out. So if you've got little kids at home, that's a really good book. The other books are more about your own kind of mental health, your own emotional health, spiritual health, and physical health. So I think we're seeing a lot of kind of things online about how to stay moving physically, moving your body. And today we've really tried to talk about how to keep your mind engaged, how to strengthen your mind, how to calm your mind. So in concluding, and wrapping this up, Dan, I think people will go to the hub. I mean, they'll go and find out, they'll go to your hub and find out about the Wheel of Awareness and realize that they are at the hub and that there are things that they can do that they might not have known about. And finally, if they feel the anxiety building, just kind of close your eyes and come back back to the hub.
Right. If you can start even just for a few moments to be more present, it's amazing, but this will strengthen your mind during these really challenging times not only of the pandemic, but of our isolation and all the economic challenges that we're talking about today. All of that those are all real things. So what Maria, you're beautifully inviting people to do is to say, okay, how do we deal with the isolation? How do we deal with the uncertainty? How do we deal with the feeling of unsafety? How do we work at this time? So let's use this to actually create the space in our lives with the motivation and the time to say, okay, there's no time like now to start strengthening my mind to deal with these challenges. And as we do this together, and if you want to do another Instagram Live, we can do that. Okay. We can follow up because, this is a time for all of us to realize how interconnected we are. I have this term, we, me plus we equals we, and we can get through this. And hopefully when we go through this, we're going to have learned how to strengthen our collective mental connections to each other so that even though we're in so-called social distancing, we're more loving and interconnected than ever before. And that is something I really believe we can achieve. And no one would have asked this pandemic to happen, but we have to see that there is going to be a way for us as a humanity to realize the reality of our interconnection. And this way we can be is loving. It's kind. That's something we can hope to bring into this world. And it starts today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dan Siegel. Go to his website, check out the Wheel of Awareness. Go just look him up. He has a lot of videos. He has a lot of books. His wife, Carolyn Welch, The Gift of Presence is her new book. You can also see it in the Sunday paper. And we're going to share all of these conversations again in the Sunday paper, Home Together. These are meaningful conversations, I hope, inspiring, uplifting conversations with people who are helpers, healers, and cultivators of hope. Many of you have given me different suggestions. I'm trying to book a lot of those people to come on here. Dan, we'll revisit, we'll reconnect and come back. And thank you so much. And maybe for our next class, you could think of 3 or 4 more things that we can all work on together as a group.
Beautiful. That would be great.
Okay, Dr. Dan Siegel. Thank you, Dan. God bless. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.